I'm driven by the need for improving care, whether it is a patient with autoimmune bowel disease, whether it is a patient with an emergency abdominal disease, or whether it is a patient with colorectal cancer. My primary motive is to develop innovative treatments for patients across different conditions, but with a common denominator, which is an immune imbalance, a microbial imbalance, where we know that there are potential candidates where we can modify the disease for these patients in order to improve outcomes. So this is why we have undergone a collaboration with Reponex Pharmaceuticals for the last 6 years, where we in collaboration are developing innovative approaches for addressing this issue in different patient categories where we know these patients has still a huge challenge and where there is a possibility to rethink how we treat these patients. The principal approach that we have in these 3 disease areas, inflammatory bowel disease, peritonitis, and also colorectal cancer and adenomas, is actually flipping it over and saying we would rather give a high-dose local treatment that ensures that we can impact the area of the body that is suffering or where the disease is, so we can give high concentration of the drug and at the same time do not get the side effects, because we don't get a high concentration in the blood, but only high local concentration. And I think this is one of the innovative approaches in the principle of caring for these patients that I'm finding very interesting and a strong perspective for the future. Peritonitis is an acute disease that can be seen in both in the middle-aged and the elderly patient population, but also actually in the younger patient population. Thousands of Danes are exposed to this or have this disease every year, with a tremendous impact on the patient's risk of dying within 30 days, within 1 year, and a huge challenge with respect of complications, long hospital stays, complications to surgery necessitating that the patient comes into the intensive care unit for several days and loses organ function, which leads to dependency, that the patient cannot take care of themselves when they get this. So a huge challenge for the healthcare system indeed. So a good example of giving local treatment in a patient undergoing surgery is the patient that has an acute abdominal disease, where there is a lesion in the intra-abdominal organs, making bowel content go outside the bowel. This is a very serious disease. Even if we do emergency surgery, around 10 to 25% of these patients will die within the first 30 days. So we have developed some new methods in order to optimize patients before and after surgery. But what we also need is to rethink how can we affect the way the patient responds to the surgery. Because the surgery on top of the disease that is already ongoing in the bowel or in the abdomen of the patient is actually putting the patient in another stress, because it's a trauma to be operated. So the novel approach that we are looking into with the local treatment is giving an immune modifier, which is called GM-CSF, and 2 antibiotics, fosfomycin and metronidazole, locally in a higher concentration during surgery. So what happens there is that we have a very high concentration of 2 different types of drugs that on the one side stimulates the immune system to kill the bacteria that we might not be removing during surgery that is outside the bowel, and at the same time giving high local concentration of antibiotics. And this conjoint is something that we are expecting is going to be a very substantial effect on how the patient responds to surgery. And our expectations is that it will be reducing the recovery time, that the patient will be suffering from less complications and therefore less pain, less infections, can get on with their life earlier, and ideally also to improve survival, because complications is something that is reducing survival to this kind of surgery. So when we treat patients with antibiotics or with immune modulators, the usual approach is to treat the patient by systemic treatment. So you inject the drug into the bloodstream of the patient. In the collaboration with Reponix Pharmaceuticals, we are using the drug developed by them, combination of GM-CSF, fosfomycin and metronidazole. So we are having a fruitful collaboration with us designing the studies and driving the study, and using our expertise into both understanding how patients react on this on a immunological level, on a cellular level, but also to read the benefits that we can see on patients. And this is part of the fruitful collaboration that we've had through the last 6 years. So right now, Reponix Pharmaceuticals has proven that there is an effect in a group of patients having appendicitis with the same challenge, where the bacteria is outside the bowel and the patient has a local infection in the bowel. And they showed that this was impactful, that was improving recovery. What we want to show and what we are investigating is whether we, in the patients that has a higher risk, which is due to a hole in the large bowel or in the stomach, they have infection in all 4 quadrants of the abdomen, that we, by giving this antibiotic and the immune modulator, can improve recovery and improve their outcomes. So this is the next step for showing impact on patient outcomes. A big frustration when you're treating patients with emergency abdominal diseases is that even if you do a very good job, you cannot really change the trajectory of the patient, because there is so much response from the immune system due to the disease, due to the surgery. So we have strong indications that by modulating the immune response and improving the patient's possibility to clean up the bacteria that there is inside the bowel, that the patients will recover earlier. And I think, in all modesty, that this is a missing puzzle in our way of treating patients. I think this is a very innovative and very strong possibility for us to improve patient care.